Hello everybody, it's Star Raptor here. Welcome to another episode of Recap of Thrones. Every week I break down the latest episode of Game of Thrones, providing some speculation, what I liked and what I didn't like about the episode. This week we had Season 7, Episode 5, titled Eastwatch. So let's get into the rundown. So, Bronn saves Jaime and once out of the army. Dany gets vengeance on Dickon and Randall Tarley. Jorah and Dany reunite. Bran sees the army of the White Walkers getting closer to Eastwatch. Sam decides to quit training to become a Maester and help Jon. Sansa and Arya disagree. Arya then spies on Peter Baelish. Davos brings back Gendry, and Tyrion meets with Jaime in King's Landing. Jon assembles a suicide squad to get living proof of the White Walkers. So the first thing I liked about this particular episode is what happened with Daenerys and her decision in taking out both Dickon and Randall Tarley. So she is almost living up to her grandfather's way. I mean, as far as burning people alive like he did with the Starks. So could it be that she is going toward that path, or is she just holding true to her word? And if people don't respect her and bend a knee, she's going to kill them, and she means it. So she means business, and she's sending a message to the Lannisters for sure. The next thing I really enjoyed about this episode was seeing Gendry again. I don't think we've seen the character since either Season 3 or Season 4. Last we met him, he was sailing off in this little rowboat, and well, apparently he got to where he wanted to go, but he's been waiting to go into this fight against the Lannisters for the longest time, and I loved his interaction with Jon Snow and about how he was almost being like Robert Baratheon and Ned Stark were in the days of Robert Baratheon. They got that friendship. And it was even really cool to see Gendry with that warhammer. He is taken after his father, and it's going to have that relationship, hopefully, that we've seen, or at least heard of, with the Robert Baratheon and Ned Stark. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about is that last scene there, and that was with basically the Suicide Squad, or the Avengers of Game of Thrones. We are getting to the point where these characters are intertwining their paths, and we're going to get this awesome battle scene, I'm thinking, where we're going to have to get this White Walker alive back to King's Landing so they can actually be like, oh, this actually exists, because last time they tried to bring in a little hand, the hand pretty much died by the time they got it back there. So they're going to have to bring a living proof of this, so it is pretty much a suicide mission. They're going beyond the wall, and they're going to try to get one of these things back alive. I mean, we have Sandor Clegane, we have Thoros of Myr, we have Beric Dondarrion, we have Jorah Mormont, we have Jon Snow, we have Gendry Waters, I believe is the last name there, and I don't know if I'm forgetting somebody, but I don't know, it's going to be amazing seeing these people. And the cool thing about it is they are all enemies. Like, when they first approached the cell, like, obviously Gendry knows about the Brotherhood without banners. They held him captive. And then you have, oh yeah, Tormund Giantsbane, that's right, that's another one, who has anonymity against, what is it, Jorah Mormont, because his father was hunting them down like wildlings. So it's going to be really cool. And the great thing about that is Jon Snow says, you know, we're all in this together. Like, why? Because they're breathing. And when it comes down to it, they can just put their squabbles aside, and they are humanity. They're going to have to end up just teaming up together to take these guys out for the greater good. So, moving on to my negatives. This must have been like a 3-month duration of an episode, because going from like Old Town with, you know, Jorah Mormont back up to Dragonstone, and then all the people going from Dragonstone over to Eastwatch, you know, by the sea, there's a lot of traveling taking place in this particular episode. So, wow, it's literally like all over the place. I get it. They're speeding up the plot along, but it was a little bit odd that in the first stages of Game of Thrones, it seemed like everything was pretty much in a couple days span, and this episode really expanded on that. So I'm going to get into my speculation that I kind of put 2 and 2 together from this episode. So I think Jorah Mormont's going to die. Simple as that. I mean, he had that nice reunion with Daenerys. They're going to make a tragedy out of him and be like, okay, Jorah Mormont is actually happy. He cured himself, and he's going to sacrifice himself for the greater good of his queen. Also, I think Gendry has a good shot of actually becoming the king of Westeros by the time that this series ends here. Now we have another person that's linked to the throne. We have his claim where he is the son, the bastard son of Robert Baratheon. So you could argue that he's a bastard son, so it doesn't make sense, but he still has the bloodline in him for a usurper. And then you could argue, obviously, that Daenerys is the true born queen of Westeros and all that. So, yeah, you know, they're going to all fight each other, and you're going to have Gendry that's just going to be, like, the only survivor, and just sort of be like, yeah, I have a claim to the throne, and next thing you know, he's going to... I don't think there's going to be a throne by the time this series gets over with, and that's just my opinion. Thing I want to touch upon is that letter that Arya Stark found that Baelish actually seemed like he was wanting her to get to that. So that, I heard all over online, people have freeze-framed it, where it is that letter, I believe, from Season 1, where Sansa Stark is trying to get her father to come down to King's Landing, and that pretty much is what kills Ned Stark, is Sansa, you know, pleading to her father in a way to, you know, get over there, sort of thing. I think that's kind of the gist of what I've seen so far. So that's really interesting, because that's making it even more of a disagreement between Arya Stark and Sansa Stark, because Arya seems to be getting a little perturbed that Sansa's staying in the parents' room and how she's always liking the nicer things in life. They had that conversation. So I could see them, you know, getting set up for some kind of altercation in a way. And another thing I want to touch upon is how Gilly nonchalantly mentions the origins of maybe Jon Snow, and then gets cut off by Samwell Tarly there. She was talking about, oh yeah, how about Rhaegar had this annulment and then had this marriage at the same time at this place down in Dorne, so it kind of signifies, Lyanna Stark, I'm sorry, and Rhaegar having a kid, Jon Snow maybe. We'll see. And like I always do, here's my quote of the episode. I left out a couple of expletives in the beginning because, well, they're pretty cruel. So he goes something like this: "Until I get what I'm owed. A dragon doesn't get to kill ya. You don't get to kill ya. Only I get to kill ya." And that just speaks volumes for the character of Bronn, who has always been in it for himself, because he's a sellsword. He is a mercenary. When it all comes down to it, his loyalty is to money, to getting paid. So that is what I thought of Episode 5 of Game of Thrones Season 7, titled Eastwatch. What did you guys think of this episode? What did you think of the Magnificent Seven, the Suicide Squad of, you know, Jon Snow, everybody going out? What did you think of everything that just transpired in this episode? Are you enjoying the season so far? Let's talk about it in that comment section below. Also, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I have plenty of other TV content, as well as I talk a lot about Star Wars and a lot about movies and gaming in general. So if you like this video, please make sure you subscribe. It'll support me, and it helps you guys stay up to speed on everything I have coming out, because it gives you notifications when I have new content on the channel. So that's going to do it for me, Star Raptor. I want to thank you guys for watching, and bye-bye. So, did you like the video? Then make sure you rate it a thumbs up, and if you did that, go over there, hit that Star Raptor head to subscribe to my channel. Doing so will keep you up to speed on all of my latest content. Speaking of which, you can see a couple of my recent uploads down below. I'm also on social media, so what are you waiting for? Let's start nerding out.